Hey, what's up? John Sonmez from simpleprogram.com. So I just recorded a video on the topic of why billionaires have different incentives. I thought, you can watch this video here. I think this one will come out after. But I thought while I'm on this subject, I might as well talk about the whole Obamacare thing and why it actually is most destructive to the middle class. I don't typically get into the political rhetoric and stuff here. And the only reason why I'm doing this is because it's economics, right? This is political views aside, like whatever, you can believe whatever you want, in the social political view realm, but you need to be educated in the economic political realm because that directly affects you, and a lot of people are misinformed. And if you're poor, right, it's because you're dumb with economics. I don't mean to be harsh, but that's the reality of the truth, right? I mean, think about it. If you had economic brilliance, you would not be you would be monetarily successful, right? So if you're not where you want to be financially, it's because you lack economic knowledge. You don't understand enough about how to make money to make the money that you want, right? That's just a plain fact, right? And some of us, yes, they're dealt different hands and we start off in different spots, but still at some point in your life, you have to realize that if you don't get to where you want to be financially, it's your fault. You have to take responsibility. And so I think being educated from political economics is really important. So let's talk about Obamacare. Let's talk about this idea, and it's not just Obamacare, okay? It's this idea of it's a system of how Obamacare is set up. So let's look at different people and how it affects them with health insurance premiums, and that's what it really comes down to. So if you are dirt poor, okay, if you're in the sort of not making a lot of money at all, okay, at the poverty level, the quote poverty, you're not in poverty if you have an iPhone, okay, but let's suppose that for practical purposes you meet the requirements of being in the poverty level, okay. Obamacare is great for you, right? Because what's happening for you is your health care is being subsidized or maybe even paid in full by other people in the system, right? All health insurance, all insurance systems work in such a way that you have a pool and a bunch of people pay into it and certain people benefit from it. In fair, equal distributions of insurance, the premiums are based on the chance of you drawing from the pool. So it's really a hedge against catastrophic problems, so that you're sharing some of the risk. You're reducing risk. You're paying for that. It's a negative EV situation. All insurance is a bad bet. But but this changes it. Okay, if you're poor, okay, but by the government definition, you're getting your stuff paid for. So you're getting a very, very reduced premium, or it's essentially free, and that's good for you. So if you plan on staying and being poor for the rest of your life, something like Obamacare is perfectly great for you. You should be supporting it because, hey, you're benefiting from other people that are paying more than their fair share, so you can pay less than your fair share. That's cool. That's fine. If I were in that position, I'm planning on being poor for the rest of my life, I would totally support Obamacare. Now, let's look at the sort of middle class, right, where most of us are either falling into or going to fall into, or at least aspire to fall into, okay? At that point, what ends up happening, okay, is because of this drag, because of these people that you're subsidizing, okay, your premiums are higher. Now, let's say that in general, if you didn't have this drag, if you weren't supporting these people subsidizing their premiums, let's say that your monthly premium would be $1,000 a month, right? And now it doubles under Obamacare, which I think most people have found that their premiums have pretty close to double, somewhere around there. It's increased a lot. But let's say that before Obamacare, your premium was $1,000 a month, and now it's $2,000. And let's say that if you're on the poor side, before it was $1,000 a month, and now it's $500 or it's $250 or free. Okay, so in the middle class perspective, if your premium went from $1,000 to $2,000, and let's say that you're making let's say $100,000 a year. It's not a huge amount of money, right? Okay, your premium on a monthly rate. Let's look at it like this. Let's look at it. Let's say you're making $100,000 a year. Okay, And let's look at your yearly premium cost, and we'll do some rounding, some averaging here. But let's just say that if it's $1,000 a month, okay, then you're paying 10% of your income to medical insurance. Okay. Now, if Obamacare happens, right? And some of you have seen this, and now your premium jumps to $2,000 a month, okay? Now you're paying 20% of your income. You're paying $20,000 a year, or $24,000 a year. But, okay, let's say that you're going from 10%, or if we want to be specific, we say 12% to 24%. But let's say 10 to 20, okay? That gives a little bit of margin of error. Maybe your premium didn't go up quite as much. Maybe it went from 1,000 to 1,800, fine, or 1,500. But realistically, for a lot of people, it did go up 100%. So they went from if you're making $100,000 a year, 10% of your income, right, to 20% of your income. That is big. That's huge. Okay, that is huge. It's huge. It really is. Okay. Now, let's look at another class of people. Let's look at millionaires, right? Let's look at kind of what we consider wealthy people. So, same scenario, okay? If you're not getting subsidized, you're not getting subsidized. So same as middle class. So now let's look at someone who makes, let's say, $500,000 a year, okay? I think most people would consider them to be somewhat wealthy, or $1 million a year, right? The one percenters. Okay, let's say you make $500,000 a year. Your premium was $1,000 a month. It doesn't matter because you get the same premium as a middle class person, right? There was nothing different. And once you've passed the subsidy mark, you don't get taxed a whole lot more. There's like a little tiny like percentage tax that goes on the top of the top income bracket. So you get taxed a little bit more, but essentially the main thing that happens for you is the same thing that happened for the middle class guy. Your premium went from $1,000 a month to $2,000 a month. Okay, so you're making $500,000 a year. Normally, you would pay, let's say, $10,000 a year in insurance, okay? So what is that percentage of your income? Well, if you're making 100 and 10,000 is 10%, if you're making 500, you take the 10% divided by 5, you've got 2%. So if you're making $500,000 a year and your insurance premium is $1,000 a month, your insurance, medical insurance, approximately costs you 2% of your income. Not a lot. Okay, not even a big deal. Now it doubles. It goes to 2,000. Guess how many fucks you give? A little bit, because it stings, but not many. You know why? Because going from 1,000 to 2,000 when you're making $500,000 a year is going from 2% to 4%. It stings, but it doesn't hurt. It hurts the middle class guy. The guy making $100,000. He feels that. His purchasing power, his utility value of money, his income just went down. It just got smacked by 10%. You know, 10% of that just went out the window. The guy making $500,000, does he care? Right? Not really. Not a huge amount. It doesn't affect his cost, his quality of life, or anything. Now the millionaire, the person who's making $1 million a year, which is actually not that much. But okay, for some of you, like, that's crazy. But I know a lot of people that are in this category. They're not like super rich by any means, right? They go from 1% to 2%. They don't. You know how many folks they give? Zero. Nothing. They don't care at all. It doesn't even matter. So when you look at it, okay. Those of you that are like looking, again, it doesn't matter that it's Obamacare, forget about that. The fact is, subsidize healthcare, okay? And it doesn't mean not universal healthcare. There's different arguments for that. I think at some point we're going to have some kind of a universal system that is going to become a basic human right to have healthcare. But aside from that, the current system that is implemented in the U.S., where the middle and upper class subsidize the lower class, it destroys the middle class, okay? And the upper class doesn't care. It doesn't make much of a difference at all. There's a small, 3.4% tax that goes into the upper tax bracket. That hurts a little bit more. But as far as premiums go, which is the majority of the money, it destroys the middle class. Okay, so that's most of you is middle class. It really helps the poor, right? It makes their barrier for getting into middle class very high because now if they get there, they're gonna lose a significant chunk of their income, and getting up that ladder becomes harder, and it doesn't hurt the rich at all. So You see what I'm saying? Like it doesn't make a lot of you that are supporting this, it doesn't make sense because it's only hurting you. Okay? Because if you're in the middle class, you're being penalized. It's having the greatest economic effect on you more than anyone else, and hurting you and preventing you from getting to the point where you can make more money, where you don't even care about it. So anyway, that's just one way to think about that. If you're and another way you could think about it too is like, if you're in the middle class, maybe your mortgage is maybe $1,000, $2,000, maybe $3,000 a month. But if you're like making $1 million a year, $500,000 a year, your mortgage might be like $5,000 or $6,000 a month. So if your health insurance premium goes from 1 to 2, it's not as big of a deal. You see what I'm saying? So anyway, I think I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but I think you can probably get this and understand this. And it's important to be intelligent about this, to understand exactly how this, you got to put yourself in the different spots, and you can understand politically why certain people would push certain things and what is going to be advantageous to you, not just now, right? A lot of people think, what's advantageous to me now? But you got to think, where are you going? If you want to be poor for the rest of your life, yeah, Obamacare, that kind of subsidized healthcare, totally exactly what you want. But if you want to make it to the middle class, or if you're in the middle class, right, then you don't want that. It's hurting you more than disproportionately to every single other class. So anyway, if you like this video, click the subscribe button. If you don't, that's too bad. I guess you can unsubscribe or thumbs down. I'll talk to you next time. Take care.